Nadia was born in Kenya, and at birth, everyone could tell she was different. She was born an albino, so she stood out. She had no pigment in her skin, and she had blonde hair. And in this part of the world, that could be dangerous, because there was a belief that possessing body parts or limbs from an albino could bring the holder good luck and good fortune. They believed they had some type of magical powers, so albinos were often killed or maimed for their body parts. Nadia's family kept her hidden for safety, till one day her village was raided by a group calling themselves the Hubutu. They macheted her mother, father, and brother. Nadia was terrified. The Hubutu was so cruel, they chopped off limbs and made their victims suffer before finishing the job by cutting off their heads. They even collected the heads of male warriors of high status. The general of the army that protected Nadia's village, his name was Suto. He was decapitated and his organs was harvested and eaten. The leader of the Hubutu army was a man called Quinji, and he believed if he ate the organs of powerful generals, he would absorb their power and become more powerful himself. So him and his army were known and feared as cannibals. When they came across Nadia, it was as if they had hit the jackpot. They had found a magical albino. There was also female, which made her a sought-out-after war witch. War witches were thought to bring good luck and immortality to armies that possessed them. So they took Nadia with them and guarded her like she was worth all the gold and silver in the land. She was even given status, a high status. She was second to the general in command, so none of the soldiers would dare harm her. And they also guarded her with their lives. But responsibility and new pressure came with this new status of being a war witch. She was questioned daily about nightly raids and what armies were vulnerable and where they should attack next. The wrong answer that led to a defeat, that could render her useless and would end in her getting discarded and burned at the stake. But not before they cut off her body parts and kept them for good fortune. Nadia didn't want to be a war witch, but she had no choice but to embrace it. One night, she had a dream. She was in the forest where she saw a group of slain soldiers. Their camp had been ransacked and burned, so she noticed what appeared to be gold bars or a hidden treasure under some leaves. Then she woke up. Nadia remembered this place in the forest because she remembered walking through that area to get water when she was a child with her brother. So she told the general, and he assembled his men. And along with Nadia, they went to the place in the forest. When they got there, it was just like Nadia saw in her dream. It was a campsite with many slain soldiers. So the soldiers searched the campsite, and what they found was even better than gold. They found a weapon stash with 100 AK-47 assault rifles and thousands of rounds of ammunition. The general and his soldiers were extremely happy. So they began to scream in celebration, because by them finding this stash of weapons made them much more powerful than their rivals. So they brought Nadia flowers and food and gave her the best garments they had to wear. Nadia began now to believe in her power. She felt all the bad things that happened before, like the slaying of her family, was part of some great plan for her to realize who she really was. So Nadia took on a whole new look. She began to paint her face with war paint and demanded the soldiers go out into the forest and bring her back different plants and animals of her choosing. One of the animals she told the soldiers to bring back was an owl. She told them the owl must not be harmed and to be extremely gentle with it. She warned them that when she receives the owl, she will ask it about its treatment, and if given a bad review, those responsible would be severely punished. That evening, the soldiers brought back the items Nadia requested. And just as she said, she asked the owl, "Did any one of these men harm you?" Then the owl began to make some squawking noises. Then Nadia's eyes began to glow with anger, and she pointed out one of the soldiers and said, "How dare you disobey me and harm my precious baby?" She looked at him with an evil glare and said, "Your fate will be much worse." Then she turned her attention to the plants the men had brought her and began grinding up bark from the trees and herbs. The next day, some of the soldiers were sent on a daily patrol, and when walking through some brush, one of the soldiers fell down in a hole. It was a trap set by one of the rival armies. When his comrades came to rescue him, they saw that there was bamboo sticks sharpened into spears sticking up from the hole, and they had pierced the soldier through his shoulder, arm, and leg. He screamed in agony as he begged for help. When they got him out of the hole, they noticed it was a slimy substance all over the bamboo spears that stuck inside of him. That slimy substance was human waste, meant to poison and cause infection in whomever was wounded by the trap. And by coincidence, the unlucky soldier that fell into this trap was the very soldier that Nadia had threatened a day before for harming the owl. This made the other soldiers fear Nadia. When they brought him back to the camp, he suffered for 3 days, moaning and groaning with a high fever, thrashing in pain, till his sores became infected and he died a long, painful death. The men then really feared Nadia. They were even more obedient to her than the general. This became a problem. When word got back to the general about the soldier's death and how Nadia had cursed him a day before, and it seemed as if she was the one in charge, this made the general angry. The general was known to get drunk. Him and his soldiers, they chewed a plant found in the forest called knock. It made soldiers aggressive and fearless in warfare. Later that night, the general was drunk and chewing knock when he decided to visit Nadia's hut. When he walked in, there were candles and incense burning, and Nadia was sitting cross-legged in a circle of candles. He was shocked at her appearance because now her face was painted white with black markings on her cheeks and forehead. She looked up at him when he walked in, and without saying a word, she dipped her fingers into a red paste sitting next to her and rubbed it on her lips like it was lipstick. Then she let her hair down, as if she was trying to seduce the general. He was angry, but now aroused. So he told her, "Remember, you work for me and will do as I say." Then he slapped her. Then he began to kiss her. He pulled up her dress, opened up her legs, and then forced his way inside of her. Then he felt a sharp pain in his groin area. He immediately got off of her and looked down. He noticed blood streaming from his groin and all over his pants. And now the room was spinning. What the general didn't know and was now finding out was that he had just fell into Nadia's trap. You see, that red paste that Nadia smeared on her lips like lipstick was a mixture of herbs, mushrooms, and flowers meant to disable a person's nervous system and paralyze them. And the blood coming from his groin area was because Nadia placed razor blades inside of her private area. So when he penetrated her, he sliced himself. And now that the general was paralyzed, Nadia grabbed a machete. And just like her parents, she decapitated him. The next day, the soldiers woke up to see their general's head on the top of a stake in the middle of the camp. And what appeared to be blood smeared all over their tents while they were sleeping. Nadia then announced she had cast a spell on each man in the army using the blood of their leader. and whomever leaves this army or disobeys her command will receive a terrible curse and face unthinkable punishment. And by this curse, Nadia took command of the Hubutu army.